Hi, let's try to go live for the second time in this series of impromptu um, discussions, let's say. And today I wanted to share some reflections that perhaps are a little bit more personal about my experience in being a technical founder. Uh, because I think that this is common to many technical founders. It's not that you have a big plan, you just stumble into it. Like if you are like me, you're passionate about solving a certain kind of technical problems, and at some point, depending on how humble you are, at some point you realize that maybe on your own, with your own resources, you cannot solve this problem when acting as, let's say, a freelancer, for example, or a solo professional, because basically you have to split of your energies between promoting your activities, discussing with clients, delivering the work, and in the end, you say, even if you work 15 hours per week, per day, yeah, not per week, per day, including the weekends, at some point can takes you longer or less time, but eventually you will realize that you cannot get it done. And so you start to think, okay, maybe I can grow an organization, I can delegate a lot of stuff so that I can have more time to solve the technical problem. And then, but it never works out that way because doing the technical stuff is like the least of your concern or the last things that you can dedicate time on, or planning sort of fails. Uh, but even if you could dedicate all of your time to the technical challenges, it would not be enough. So you realize you need the help of others to get to the solution that you are imagining. And so you creating a company, and then at some point you realize that you change your career without planning it, right? And that can be somehow very frustrating. And I was reflecting on why this is frustrating. And to me, the conclusion that I reach is that there are two reasons that makes frustrating to become a technical founder. One reason is that you change your career. So in a way, you stop being, like in my case, a software engineer or a full-time software engineer to become an entrepreneur or a software engineer / entrepreneur. And so you do that at a stage in your career when you reach a certain level, I would say a very good level in your first career. So I considered myself when I started this company a very good software engineer. And you move from that to be a terrible entrepreneur because you're getting started into it. And for me personally, I started programming when I was 80 years old, and I started being an entrepreneur when I was, I don't remember, let's say 35 or whatever. And so at that point, I've been programming for 27 years, and I started from scratch, from zero. And this somehow humbling because when I started programming, I was 8. I was allowed being terrible at that. When I started being an entrepreneur, I was 35. So being terrible is not something that is very good on your ego. So, it's taking a huge step back in who you are and who you are as a professional. And you realize that your expertise in a sense, in another career, your expertise as software engineer help you very little in your new career in being an entrepreneur, right? You have like to relearn everything or to learn, I don't know, about budgeting, about marketing, about sales, about hiring. about managing people. So yeah, a lot of things to learn, and not all of them as fun as programming, I would say. So this is the first problem, the huge step back that you do in a certain sense. And the second thing is that when you are used to programming, you're used to very short feedback cycles. So if you have an idea, you try to implement it and you realize pretty quickly if it's working or not, especially when you have a certain amount of experience. And I think when you started doing this activity, programming since a young age, you develop a sort of instinct. Through your gut feelings, you can figure out pretty soon if something is working or not. In the worst case, you build a prototype that can be complex. It takes a few days, a few weeks, but you figure it out and you correct your ideas. Maybe you realize your expectations were wrong, or what you were expecting was not correct, or maybe you realize you were right. It happened to me a lot of times, realizing that I'm right. But you get a way to validate your ideas in a reasonable time frame. But when you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't work like that. You have an idea for a new strategy, you need maybe 3 months to implement it, maybe 2 years before realizing that after all it was a bad idea. And you're also not really sure of why something didn't work. Something didn't work because there was no market, because you marketed it wrong, because your implementation was wrong. I don't know. It's very difficult to get feedback, or at least it is for me. And so that is very frustrating because this makes much more difficult to learn, to improve. And in a sense, only when I realized that, I realized how amazing it is to to program, because you get these feedback cycles and these give you the opportunity to consistently improve yourself, especially if you're willing to dedicate a ton of time to that. You will improve a lot. While as an entrepreneur, I don't know if 30 or 40 years are enough to really learn what you're doing, or at least maybe not for me. I've been an entrepreneur for a bit less than 10 years, and I'm starting to learn the basic. I think I started Strumenta like 8 years ago. It's difficult to learn. You learn slowly. It's extremely frustrating. I don't like it one bit. I would like just to go back to programming, but I think I put myself in this position. So now, I think after a while you find it a new challenge. So I think it's interesting to see if you can solve this puzzle. And it's still true that the company is still the mean that you use to solve technical problems that are very deep to you, that are fascinating for you. So I think it's worth to take this second job to help you solve the challenges that you encounter during your first job. So, okay, that was it. Today I wanted to share some more personal reflection to see if they resonate with the challenges that authors are going through. And I hope to read your comments, hear your opinion, and see if this resonate to you. Maybe it's just me being terrible at this. And of course, if you have feedback, ideas, suggestions, I really look forward to hearing them. But for now, thank you. I will see you soon with a random schedule. But I guess that if you doesn't catch this live, you can always watch the recording. So thank you. Bye.